Lecture number 189, Contracts 1 or Law of Contracts General Principles in English. Today's topic for discussion is next chapter, Consideration. In this chapter, Consideration, I am going to cover consideration, meaning and definition under section 2D. Elements or requisites or constituents of consideration. A contract without consideration is void, and exceptions under section 25 of the 25 clause 1 to 3 of Indian Contract Act. Next one is stranger to contract or private to contract with reference to stranger to consideration. Exceptions to that effect also are the topics for discussion today. Once again, today I will discuss consideration, one of the big chapters. In this, there are three segments are there. First one is consideration, meaning, definition and elements. Second one is a contract without consideration is void. There are three exceptions to this rule under section 25 clause 3. In other words, it means even without consideration, certain contracts are valid. Third part of this lecture is the doctrine of privity of contract or stranger to contract, stranger to consideration or privity of consideration is the next topic. In this, there are 5 exceptions. Those 5 exceptions also I will take up. Just before going to start lecture, just me take just 1 minute to pray God, pay homage to my parents, late Rega Prau, late Srimati Kanta Ratnam, and my wife, Mrs. Balivada, now Rega Tirumala Gauri. I express my deep sense of gratitude to all my godfathers who are instrumental for what I am now. It is my duty to express heartfelt thanks to the publishers and authors of various books and articles, research papers in internet, whose help I am taking for delivering these lectures. And finally, it is my duty and utmost responsibility to express my student friends who are instrumental for what I am now. Now, consideration, meaning, definition and elements. First part. Here, I told several times previously, consideration is one of the most essential elements to constitute a contract. In section 10 of Indian Contract Act, which defines contract, contains these elements like offer and acceptance under section 2A, 2B, consideration under section 2D, free consent under section 14, not influenced by coercion, unuse, etc. under section 15 to 22, the legality of object, that the object of the consultation must be good, the object of the contract must be lawful and should not be opposed to public policy under section 23, not being subjected to section 26 to 30 of the Indian Contract Act, and these are the capacity of parties under section 11. These conscients are contained under section 10 of Indian Contract Act while giving the definition of contract. So these conscients, namely offer, acceptance, consideration, capacity, all these elements are taught under independent subject, subsequent independent chapters. I took in my first lecture summary of the subject, second lecture contract, meaning, definition and elements, third lecture offer and acceptance, this lecture consideration. I already uploaded this in Telugu media. Now I will take up. Here afterwards, I have decided to upload every lecture not only in English but also in my local language, that is my mother tongue Telugu. So the students who are looking for Telugu media and English media need not get disappointed. It is your, the ball is in your court. The more you show interest, the more I will have inspiration to deliver more and more lectures. Now coming to the first aspect, consideration, meaning, definition and element. Consideration means something in return. Any contract is valid provided there is a lawful consideration. In the absence of consideration, the contract is not valid. If the consideration is not present, is absent, it amounts to gift. What is gift? I gave a lecture in Transfer of Property Act, gift, meaning, definition and elements. If you are interested, you can refer to my lecture of gift. So if consideration is present, that consideration is valid contract or lawful contract, that contract is valid. Otherwise the contract is not valid. Consideration means something in return. Consideration means something in return. It is, in other words, consideration is the price of the contract. For instance, A sells his house for 50 lakhs to B. For A, 50 lakhs is consideration. For B, house is consideration. Similarly, A marries B. A is consideration to B, B is consideration to A, but there should not be any bride price or bridegroom price, which are strictly prohibited in any law. That is the reason. So in lease, mortgage, sale, pledge, bailment, in every contract, consideration is present. If consideration is not present, it is valid. So this is the meaning of consideration. That is why it is said a contract without consideration is void. Ex nudo pacto non retractio, as understand in the Latin maxim, out of a nude pact no cause of action arises. That is why consideration is sine qua non, condition precedent for a valid contract. Now coming to the definition. The section 2D of Indian Contract Act defines in almost all legislation either section 2 or section 3 are allocated for various definitions relating to that subject. Accordingly, Indian Contract Act section 2 is allocated for providing various definitions. Section 2A and B defined offer and acceptance. I explained in previous class, that is offer and acceptance. Now section 2D defines consideration. What is consideration? According to section 2D of Indian Contract Act, a consideration means when the promisor promisee or any other person has done or abstained from doing, does or abstains from doing, promises to do or promises to abstain from doing something, such act or abstinence or promise to do or abstain from promising to do is said to be consideration to that promise. So here, when at the desire of the promisor, the promisee or any other person has done or abstained from doing, does or abstains from doing, promises to do or promises to do something in future, that is in future, such act or abstinence or promise to do is called consideration for the promise. I already told you, in a contract there will be two parties, one makes offer and other makes acceptance. Out of these two parties, whoever comes forward and initiate the contract or agreement, that person is called promisor or offeror. So A is there, girl is there, B is there, boy is there, they are young, they have inclination. A we has an inclination to marry B, B has an inclination to marry A, but whoever comes out, whoever expresses his inclination out, that first person becomes promisor. Expression of opinion is expressed, that is called promise. To whom this promise is extended is called promisee. Similarly, when a person wants to sell his house, if he tells that I wish to sell my house, would you like to purchase? He is called promisor. His act is called promise. The other person is called promisee. If he keeps quiet, it remains as promisee. He remained as promisee. If he acknowledges and says okay, then the promisee becomes acceptor. That is why to constitute to a contract, an agreement, there must be two individuals or two persons. One must extend offer as per section 2A. Other must acknowledge that offer by accepting the same as per section 2B. Then only the offer and acceptance be united to constitute a contract. So here, when at the desire of the promisor, A wants to sell his house, that is his desire. At the desire to B, either promisee, that is the B, either himself or any other person, his authorized agent or his brother or sister or whatsoever may be, is there, promises to do. When A is telling to sell his house, either I can be, as a B, I can say yes, I will purchase. Or okay, you ask my brother, sister or my agent will do care of it. That man will give acceptance or willingness. That is, either promisee or any other person has done or abstained from doing, already done, yesterday or last week or last month, has done or already done, past. Does or abstain from doing, both will be done today. House is handed out today by registration, money is payment today. That is present. Does or abstain from doing. Does means doing, abstain from doing means not to do. And promises do or promises to abstain from doing. So one act is done today from promisor or acceptor. The other act, the second party's act will take tomorrow, next week or next month. That is called future. So that act or abstinence, doing that act or not doing that act, or will be doing, will not be doing, that act or abstinence is called consideration to that promise. Consideration to that promise. This is the definition enshrined under section 2D of the Indian Contract Act. So here, in this is the definition of the Indian Contract Act. You children, you may get some doubt. For doing it is okay, not doing, what is that not doing? For not doing, consideration should be there, they may doubt. So here, suppose A is having his land of 1 acre in comfortable position for passage of water, and B's land is in uncomfortable, geographically disadvantaged position. Sometimes B has to depend on A's act. That is, that act is not mandatory personally. If A's water, the water in A's land comes to B's fields may spoil. Then B may request A not to release water towards my land, towards my field. You get it diverted so that I will give you some amount. That is for not doing the act. Suppose B wants water from A, he may request, so that it may be done yesterday, for remuneration is given today, consideration is given today. For doing today itself, consideration may be exchanged today. For doing tomorrow, consideration may be exchanged today. So the landlord of B can request the landlord of A sometimes to release the water, sometimes not to release the water. So that is why the words act or abstinence are used. So this act or abstinence sometimes past, sometimes present, sometimes future. One act takes place past, second act takes place in present. If one act takes place today, some other act will take place tomorrow or day after tomorrow. That is why the act or abstinence, present, past, present and future, as per Indian law, consideration is valid. So consideration is valid in past consideration, present consideration, future consideration. All are valid, but in England, past consideration is not valid. Present condition is present and future considerations are valid. Now meaning and definition is over. Next, to constitute a valid consideration. A consideration to be valid according to law, if a consideration is valid or lawful, then only contract will be valid. A consideration to be valid and enforceable, certain conditions are to be satisfied. These conditions are called conscients or elements, requisites, ingredients, all are same. Number one is the consideration must be lawful. Consideration must be lawful. Lawful means lawful. There is a slight difference between lawful and illegal. Lawful consideration means it must be legally enforceable in the court of law. If the activity is legally enforceable in the court of law, it is called lawful. It is if it is logical, it cannot be enforceable. For instance, husband promises his wife to give maintenance, food, clothing, shelter. If he doesn't give food, clothing, basic needs to wife can now enforce it by claiming maintenance under the respective laws. That is illegal. That is lawful. Logical means husband promises his wife to give diamond necklace or 2 crore, 1 crore, 2 crore worth car or chartered flight. If he fails to do. If a wife brings an action, that cannot be enforceable. That cannot be enforceable. That is logical. So like that, the consideration must be lawful. It must not be logical. Secondly, a consideration must not be illegal. Consideration must not be illegal or opposed to public policy. If the consideration is illegal means whatever contract, if any contract is entered, absolutely prohibited by law in force, that contract is called illegal contract. So I will give you 5 lakhs, you go and kill somebody. I will give you 1 lakh, go and break the hand of somebody. If I enter into contract with somebody, that is illegal. That illegal contract, that illegal agreement is entitled as criminal conspiracy. It is explained in detail under chapter 5A, section 120A and 120B of Indian Penal Code 1860. Such any act and 2 or more persons to do an illegal act or legal act by illegal means that agreement is called conspiracy or criminal conspiracy. It is an offence under section 120A and it is punishable under section 120B and 120B. This act also is opposed to public policy. This will be taught in legality of object chapter in detail. So this is the position, illegal. Similarly, whatever activity is prohibited by the law in force, state law, central laws, that is also illegal. Suppose consumption of alcoholic drinks is prohibited by the state by special legislation, then consumption of alcoholic drinks and maintenance of bars and bar houses is illegal. Similarly, drugs business, similarly prostitution business, if they are prohibited, they are illegal. So the 2 persons should not enter into a contract for carrying on such business which are prohibited by such law in force. It is a central law or state law. So this is the position. So here then it must be it must be lawful. It must not be illegal or opposite to public policy. Here the first 2 ingredients of this thing. The third ingredient is consideration must move from Promisar. Consideration must move from Promisar, not from any other person. Consideration must move move at the desire of the Promisar. Consideration must move at the desire of the Promisar. At the desire and from Promisar any other different. And consideration must move at the desire of the person. A wants to sell, B wants to buy, but whoever comes forward, Suppose A says that I want to sell my house, it is consideration emerges at the desire of A. Or B also having desire to purchase. If he speaks first, I want to sell your house, it emerges, moves at the desire of the B. So whoever comes forward first time, that then the consideration is said to be has moved at the desire of promisor. So that is what. So then the other person is called promisee. The promisee has to accept to do or not to do it, to acknowledge or not to acknowledge. That promisee either himself will do or any other person will do. Suppose the promisee is a big man, he is a very big employer, he doesn't do everything, he will entrust to his PA or his agent, then any other person. So whatever it may be, in any contract, there are certain contracts, the number of parties will be 3 and more. In such situations, any other person, promisee is okay for 2 if there are 2 parties. Any other person means if the number of parties is 3 and above, then promisee, in addition to promisee, any other person will come. So now coming to the third point, consideration must move at the desire of the promisor. In this point, there is a case on this point, Durga Prasad versus Baldev. In this case, plaintiff is a contractor. He constructed some flats, some shops in a market yard under the instructions or orders of the district collector. And the defendant is one of the occupants of that shop. Then the plaintiff went to defendant. So all these shops I have constructed. As I have constructed all these shops, you are comfortably doing business and making profits. So like this, okay, you have done a good job. We will give you, so that for your service, I will give something. Defendant made some promise, but defendant did not give as per his promise. Then plaintiff filed a case against defendant. But so and so, the defendant so and so of shop number so and so promised to give me something, but he did not give. The court asked, did you construct that shop at his request? No. At the desire of promisor? No. When you did not construct that particular shop at the desire of the promisor, you have no right to ask. You have done it at the orders or instructions of the district collector. Then the suit was dismissed. That is why the consideration must move from promisor, not from any other person. So the consideration must move at the desire of the promisor, must move from promisee or any other person is the second point. What is that from promisee or any other person? This point we will discuss in detail in privity of contract, that is stranger to contract or stranger to consideration. Now 4 points are over. Consideration must be real. Consideration must be real, should not be illusory. So it should be something possible, feasible and performable. It should not be it must not be fake. So illusions. Consideration means I will give you 1 crore, give life to dead child. I will give you 10 lakhs. You go by, you reach a particular city which is 200 kilometers in 1 hour. If you reach 200 kilometer distance by walking in 1 hour, I will give you 10 lakh. These are such things are called illusory, meaningless, fake. Just like we see in movie, an hangman hero will kill 100 notorious criminals in possession of deadly weapons. That is illusory. Car is flying in cars races and everything. They are some illusory, graphic things. So in Bahubali, this man is flying in air from one hill to another hill. These are all illusory. They are for entertainment purpose. They will show like this. So the consideration must be real, serious. It should not be illusory. Doctor, I will give you my whole property if you give life to my dead child. So the consideration must be correct, proper and real. It should not be fake or illusory. That is why the content also must be clear. Section 29 of the Indian Contract Act enunciates that the terms of the contract must be clear. One of the terms of contract is consideration. The consideration must be given. You will finish the job, I will give you whatever you want. So there is no. You finish the job, I will give you whatever you want. No. So you finish that job, I will give you something. You should tell the meaning. So whatever you want means if he asks anything, whatever he asks, he may ask anything. There is no any limit. So that is the thing. So the terms of offer must be clear. The terms of offer must be clear and certain. You construct the house as per my requirement and taste. I will give the rent whatever. I will give the rent whatever you offer. This is illusory. So these are the things. So next one is consideration need not be adequate. Consideration means need not be offer and acceptance must not commensurate to each other. So 10 lakh house may be sold for 1 lakh or 1,000. 1 crore house may be sold for 1 lakh. There is no any hard and fast rule. So like that, whatever is the value of the product, the amount of money should not be equal. A may sell his 1 crore house for 10 lakhs. It is okay. If he gives free of cost, it amounts to gift. A becomes donor, B becomes donee. Anything is done, anything is given without receiving anything, that is called gift. The person who gives is called donor. The person who receives is called donee. That contract is called a gift under this thing. So here what happens is, because of this, in sale contracts, if 1 crore house is sold to B for 1 crore only, but they register it for 30 lakhs, 40 lakhs, etc. to reduce the stamp duty. So the governments today are collecting 8% like that, and it varies from state to state. Now the government realized 1 crore house they are selling for 1 crore, they are registering it, putting the price as 30 lakh or 25 lakh. The government started increasing the value of the property in so many states. Whatever is the market value, the government value also almost the same. So registration fees have become very high. So that is the reason. There may be some intelligent man, when market price and government price is same, I request the government to purchase take my house or land. I am ready to give 10 to 20% discount. Then government will not take. If you sell, then only government will take from you. This is the position. So this is the consideration need not be adequate. Now consideration may be past, present and future. Past, present and future means yesterday I gave money, full money. Today he registered my house. That is the past. Today, payment today, registration today. That is the present. Or TV, purchasing TV today, delivery of TV today. You remember that for understanding purpose only I am giving the examples of immovable property. The all transactions relating to immovable property between one living person to another living person are studied in Transfer of Property Act 1882. Only movable transactions relating to movable properties are studied in Contract Act. So this is the position for your information. Now consideration need not be adequate. Consideration may be past, present or future. So for tomorrow I give money today, tomorrow he will register the house. We pay money today, after some time the dealer will deliver our two-wheeler or four-wheeler. That is future. Future time. This is also best example. If there is a very big demand for a new product, two-wheeler or four-wheeler, customer will pay money first, after the delivery will come, the stock will come after some time, then that is called future. In India, past consideration, present consideration and future consideration, three are valid. It is, you can understand it's about past, present and future in the definition itself under section 2D. But in England, past consideration is no consideration, not valid. Present and future considerations are valid according to their position. So these are the 7 ingredients of consideration. 7 ingredients of consideration. So the case law Durga Prasad Rao Baldev also I have covered. Next, second segment is consideration. A contract without consideration is void. A contract without consideration is void. So, to constitute a contract, a contract to be valid and enforceable, it must be supported by consideration. If consideration is not there, the contract will be invalid. When we deal the matter under Contract Act or Consumer Protection Act or Sale of Goods Act, if the in that particular case, when which movable activities are movable transactions, movable contracts are dealt with, if the consideration is absent, the contract cannot be enforceable and the case will be dismissed in the very outset. That is why a contract without consideration is void. So, a contract to be valid and enforceable, it must be supported by valid consideration, as mentioned in the Latin maxim, ex nudo pacto non oritur actio. Out of a nude pact, no cause of action arises. So, this is the general rule. But however, there are certain circumstances in which without consideration also is valid. That means a contract even without consideration is valid. There are three situations enshrined in section 25 clause 1 to clause 3. Dear friend, I did not tell the number 25 clause 1 to clause 3 in English lecture. Please make refer. Whatever I give any lecture, I suggest you to refer, watch both, because some new points will be there. Certain points which are covered in English may not be covered in Telugu and vice versa. It is I suggest you watch both so that you can enrich good knowledge. But those other than Telugu media people cannot read, cannot watch the Telugu lecture. Now coming to the point. So here there are section 25, according to section 25 clause 1 and 1 to 3, clause 25 clause 1, 25 clause 2, 25 clause 3. These three things without consideration contract is valid. First one is compensation for voluntary services. Compensation for voluntary services. Suppose in Durga Prasad Rao versus Baldev means it is not even voluntary service at the instructions of collectors. Suppose one couple, one family is going traveling in their own car. In the middle of the way, the car gave trouble. They stopped the car and looking for help. And someone is going through that way, having seen their situation, stopped the car. Any trouble? Can I help you? He said. Okay, sir. Then Suyamoto, that other man, two-wheeler or four-wheeler, parked his vehicle behind and attended the repair. Then the owner of the car felt happy and expressed happiness. And sir, you have done a great job. You have helped me a lot. If you don't help me, I have to remain in this middle of the way with the family. We must be thankful to you. Anyway, as a token of respect, I wish to give you some amount, sir. After reaching the city, I will contact you and give you. He made a promise. But at that juncture, he gave out of happiness. He promised to give, and after that he forgot it. He did not give it. The person who attended the repair asked him, sir, you promised to give me some amount, but you did not give me, you give. No, and that time I told I did not ask you to do Suyamoto, you did on your own. So he is keeping silent. Then the person, the rescuer who helped the vehicle, filed a case. Then the court asked, did you attend his job at the request of the Promisar? No. So the consideration must emerge at the desire of the Promisar. So no, on my own. So once you have done it on your own, you cannot pay. That is the thing. But however, that rescuer can claim, provided that promise is taken in writing, recorded and registered with due witnesses, then he can file a case. Suppose if it is not in recorded If it is not in writing or recorded and with supporting evidence, is not registered, he cannot do it. So suppose that is consideration part services rendered is put in writing, registered, basing on that instrument the promisee, the promisor can bring an action against. This is one first exception. This compensation for fast service rendered is section 25 clause 2. 25 clause 1 is love and affection. 25 clause contract without consideration is void. There are 3 exceptions under section 25 clause 1 to clause 3. 25 clause 1, 25 clause 2, 25 clause 3. 25 clause 1 so love and affection. 25 clause 2 compensation for past service rendered. This already over. Love and affection means 25 clause 1. What is that love and affection? Parents give many things to children. Children give many things to parents. Any near, whatever is given to near or dear without expecting anything is done. And that if anybody promises to near or dear, near means all blood relations, father, mother, brother, sister, son, uncle, aunt, all the blood relations within the purview of near. Dear means well-wishers, friends and relatives come under dear. If any one person makes promise to other to give something and fail to do so, if the latter puts that promise in writing, get it registered, then the latter can bring an action against the former to enforce the contract. If the promisor makes a promise to promisee to do something and he failed to do it, if the promisee or acceptor got that promise registered, put it in writing, newly attested by witnesses, and got it registered, then the promisee then it can be enforced. It can be enforced against the promisor. So this is the position under section 25 clause 1. Father promised daughter to give 1 lakh property. Then father failed to give it. If father's promise is registered and father failed to give, daughter can file an action against the father. This is the position. Third one is time-bound debt. Time-bound debt. The law of limitation is there. The Limitation Act 1963 is there. According to the law of limitation, for every transaction, for every contract, there is some specified time or prescribed period of time. So the contract must be concluded within that prescribed period of time. There is a big table, J.D. Jain book. For every activity, there is a for mortgage, sale, gift, lease, mortgage, and any contracts, so everything some limited. 3 months, 3 years, 6 months, 20 years, 30 years, like that and so on. Different limitation periods are there for limited various transactions. Like that pre-limitation period is there. Suppose for so many contracts, the limitation period is 3 years. Some agreement is entered into between publisher and author, the period is 3 years. If an agreement is entered into between seller and buyer, the limitation period is 3 years. If money lending, borrowing is there, the limitation period is for 3 years. So the promissory note is there. Suppose A gives 1 lakh loan to B against a promissory note, the limitation period is 3 years. So the B has to repay the money within 3 years only. If B does not repay the 1 lakh with interest within 3 years, if after 3 years A cannot file a case against B. So that is why when A could not recover 1 lakh loan against a promissory note from the borrower within 3 years, A cannot file a case against B to recover because it has become time is over, time elapsed returned. But however, B is a good man. Because of the reason we cannot take the advantage of technical principle of law. A gave me 1 lakh is right, true. I have to pay interest of nearly 10,000 is true. As a moral obligation, it is my duty to repay to A 1 lakh plus 10,000, 1 lakh 10,000 on that principle of morality, principle of decency and dignity, natural justice. B returns that money to A that is deemed to have been paid without any consideration. B gave money back without any consideration. You children, you may come across the doubt, we are taking loan from banks for 20 years, 30 years like this, and you are telling that limitation period is 3 years. So, no. The limitation period starts from latest payment, latest installment paid by the suppose a flat a loan, 50 lakh loan is taken from a bank for purchase of a house or flat, and every month some 25,000 is paid. So after 15 years is paid, 5 more years is remainder. From 15th year, 50 last installment, from there 3 years time will be there. So that is acknowledgement by part payment. Acknowledgement by part payment. Similarly, the borrower makes a promise to lender. So yeah, you gave me 1 lakh, I am not able to repay due to my financial problem. Anyway, I will pay you shortly. From that statement itself, that is an acknowledgement. It may be oral or writing. From their time, 3 years time limitation period will be extended. Suppose, why should I give you? I need not give you anything, and a dissenting opinion also is done. That is proved to be wrong. From that time, 3 years limitation period will be computed. So, if in the absence of these, after 3 years, whatever payment after the elapse of limitation period, if the repayment is made, that repayment is deemed to have been paid without any consideration and is valid. This is the second segment of a contract without consideration void. And in other words, a contract even without consideration is valid as per section 25, clause 1, 2 and 3. Love and affection, payment for past service rendered and time bound debt. Now the third segment is privity of contract or privity of consideration or stranger to contract. The general rule is that only parties to contract can sue and be sued. Anybody other than parties should not enter into the field to sue. Suppose a contract takes place between A and B, that is seller and buyer. If the seller doesn't perform the sale or the buyer doesn't perform the purchase by making payment, whoever breaches, whoever fails to do his job, the other party is called aggrieved party. The other party can have cause of action to approach court, and he will approach the court to file a case. So when A breaches, B can go to court. B breaches, A can go to court. So when a contract is entered into between mortgagor and mortgagee, lessor and lessee, purchaser and seller, bailor, bailee, anything, the affected party in a contract, both parties will have equal duty and obligation. They are expected to discharge their respective duty or obligation. If either one party breaches, other party can go to court, and that is what is called only parties alone can have right to sue and be sued. To sue means I can sue you. To be sued means you can be sue me. That is there. Anybody other than the party is a stranger to contract. Suppose a contract is entered into between me and my friend. I can file a case against him, he can file a case against me. My brother, sister, near, dear or anybody cannot sue because they are stranger to contract. For this also 5 exceptions are there. Sometimes the stranger contracts relates to stranger to consideration. A stranger to consideration in India can sue, but a stranger to consideration in England cannot sue. Similarly, in certain acts, by virtue of the nature of the contract, stranger to contract also can sue. Some 5 exceptions are there. So the general rule is the doctrine of privity of a stranger to contract cannot sue, but a stranger to consideration can sue in India. But there are certain circumstances, some strangers to contracts also stranger to consideration. There are some other contracts which are merely stranger to contract, then can be in such cases stranger to contract can sue. There are five instances. So coming to the point, the first part of the point is a stranger to contract cannot sue is explained, enshrined in Latin maxim, privity of contract. This privity of contract means contractual relationship exists or subsists between the parties to the contract. When once a contract is created, the only some relationship is created between the parties concerned. Others are no way concerned. That is why between whom the contractual relation is created, they alone can sue one another. Other person cannot sue it. This is what is called the doctrine of privity of contract. This was this type of question came into question for the first time in a leading English case, Tweedle versus Atkinson. What happened in this case was A and B, boy and girl, got married. A and B, boy and girl got married. In connection with the marriage, A's father, B's father promised to give some amount to A in consideration for the marriage. Officially, consideration for marriage is not valid. A promised to give something to A's father, B's father. After some time, A's father died, B's father died. A being father, he doesn't file a case against his father, but wife's father, is B's father, he filed a case. You promised B also died. When B also died and the actio personalis moritur cum persona is no more there, the death, the contractual obligation will be extended to the legal heirs also. The legal heirs will get not only property but also liability also. That is why the legal heirs, if a person writes will and a person is employed for distribute the property, he is called executor. Otherwise, court appointed, he is called administrator. These things I will tell. So one thing here, A filed a case against the legal heirs or legal administrators of the property. Now here, this is stranger to consideration. It is not only stranger to contract, but it is a stranger to consideration. The contract was there between A and A's father, but A's father. But even though in England, stranger this is consideration, stranger to consideration, and it cannot be enforced because the contract is entered into between A's father and B's father to give something. So the beneficiary is A. A married to B. A's father, B's father made an agreement to give something to A. But A died. A's father died. B's father also died. His legal heirs are there. Then A doesn't file a case against his own father, filed a case against B's father. B's father also died. He legal heirs. Then see, it is because A is the beneficiary of the contract. That is why it is stranger to contract. In England, a stranger to contract, not only a stranger to contract cannot sue, but also a stranger to consideration cannot sue. In Tweedle versus Atkinson, A is not only stranger to contract, but also stranger to consideration because the contract originally entered between A's father and B's father. The beneficiary is A. So whether it is a stranger to contract or stranger to consideration, it is not valid in England. It was dismissed. Suppose the same case takes place in India, a stranger to consideration is valid and A will be entitled to get compensation, get the amount from legal heirs of the B. This is for your position. So this decision given in Tweedle versus Atkinson was reaffirmed, confirmed in a very leading case, Dunlop Pneumatic Company versus Self-Regent Company. Dunlop Pneumatic Company versus Self-Regent Company. Dunlop Pneumatic Company, Dunlop Pneumatic Tire Company Limited is a manufacturing company. It produces tires and tubes, and this company engaged some dealers, agents by name Dew and Company. The Dunlop Company instructed their dealers, agents, Dew and Company, you should see every precaution. You should see that the tires and tubes must be is sold absolutely as per MRP, that is listed price only. You should not sell them below the listed price. Such instructions Dunlop company gave to their agents or dealers, Dew and company. Here contract is created between Dunlop company and Dew company. But while supplying Dew company, they whether gave instructions or not, they supplied some tires and tube to one retailer, Selfridge company. So the dealers, retail dealer may get a discount of 10%, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, depending on the nature of the product, depending upon the supplier, the discount ranges from this to that. So that is why some retailers, I am getting 40% profit, the customer is asking 20% profit, let us give. Some dealer may give 5%, 10%, 20%. Some known person, some retailer may give as per 30% also, keeping 10, like this. So here, a Selfridge company sold the tires and tubes below the listed price. When the price of a product varies from shop to shop, it will create some bad will. It will spoil the goodwill of the company. So the tire rate is one shop one rate, another shop another rate. The public will lose confidence. That brought to the notice of the manufacturer, Dunlop Pneumatic Tire Company, and it came to know that and questioned the Selfridge company. So why you are selling below the listed price? Then they said, it is my will, I can try sell it at any time, like that he said. Then Dunlop Tire Company filed a case against the Selfridge company. Then the court said, is there any contract between Dunlop Pneumatic Tire Company and Selfridge company? No. There is in this particular contract, there is three parties, Dunlop company, Dew company and Selfridge company. But even though in a contract there are three parties and above, collaterally three contracts will be created. Contract lies between Dunlop company and Dew company, who are the agent, and another contract is between Dew company and Selfridge company. In this particular case, there is no contract between Selfridge Dunlop Pneumatic company and Selfridge company. So Dunlop Pneumatic company, being a stranger to contract, cannot file a case. The case was dismissed. The case was dismissed. So here I tell you, dear friend, when a contract is an agreement entered into between two or more parties, we say absolutely any contract is absolutely between two parties, A and B. If third person is created, three persons are there in a trust, settler or trust owner, trustee, beneficiary, three parties are there. In a contract of guarantee, principal, debtor, creditor and surety, three parties will be there. Even though three parties are there, a contract is there between creditor and principal, debtor, and the creditor and surety and principal, debtor. Three contracts will be there indirectly. If surety repays the money, again surety or guarantor will file a case against debtor to recover the money paid. So this is even though the contract, we may use the word 3, 2 and above, three persons are there, but only this. But in certain cases, a stranger to contract also can sue. A stranger to contract also can sue. This is the position. That is the reason why the banks and financial organizations, while lending money, while granting loan, take sureties, property security. Sometimes, suppose the bank is giving loan to some flat, and the borrower, that is the debtor, on the name of debtor, insurance also will be taken at the cost of customer, because if the loan repayment period is 10 years, in meanwhile debtor dies, he will recover the amount from the. So banker wants that the debtor should live for 10 years only. After that payment is over, if debtor dies, the bank doesn't bother. So similarly, that flat also his documents are taken as security, and flat also is insured because there is any earthquake, there is any floods, anything goes wrong, the flat is there. So what I said is, while granting a loan, certain financial organization take such precautions. They take insurance of the borrower, they take, that is debtor, they take insurance of the property, they take the properties, assuming that the surety may, the debtor may die, sureties may die, the property may be destroyed, but everything will be destroyed, but bank will be there and bank employees will be there. That is the contention. That is how the people are constrained to take loan despite all these hurdles. So this is the position with reference to this. So here now stranger to contract cannot sue, a stranger to consideration can sue. There are 5 exceptions to this rule. 5 exceptions to this rule. So these exceptions, sometimes stranger to contract also contains stranger to consideration, but sometimes some points are stranger to contract. So a stranger to contract also can sue in 5 cases. General rule is, a stranger to contract who is not a party to the contract cannot sue, but in 5 cases the stranger to contract also can sue. Sometimes the stranger to contract may be stranger to consideration. In some cases he may not be stranger to consideration. So what are these 5 exceptions I want to tell you? Beneficiary of a trust. The concept of trust can be explained under 2 heads. Number one is private trust. Second one is public trust. Private trust means I am an old man of 80 years. I have lump sum property. Whenever I die, I cannot say I execute a will, appointing some responsible person, some lawyer or some responsible person as the executor. In the event of my death, the property will be distributed as per the contents of that will. So in this case, this is what is called, I create some trust. That trust is called private trust. So my property will be distributed to my near and dear. That is for my personal purpose, not for public purpose. That is called private trust. So private trust. So here the contract lies between me as a testator and the other man is executor. With the 2 parties, the beneficiary may be grandchildren or granddaughter, any male. They are the beneficiaries. If that responsible person misuses, takes the money to my grandchildren who are beneficiaries, can file a case against him, because they are not only stranger to contract but also stranger to consideration. They can sue in India, but they cannot sue as a stranger, even as stranger to consideration in England. That is trust beneficiary. Public trust means till recently I worked in a government aided college. Government gives money towards scholarship to student. I am a trustee. Government is called trust titular or trust owner. The contract lies between me and the government, and the students are beneficiaries. But if it is my duty to receive money in one hand, give it to my student. If I don't give it, misuses it for my personal benefit, it amounts to breach of trust. It is a tort as well as claim. Whatever amount I have eaten, I should give it. I must account for that with fine, and also I will be prosecuted legally with an imprisonment of 2 to 3 years. So this is in such case, if I don't give money, students who are beneficiaries can file a case against me. Then that stranger to contract is a stranger to consideration. It is valid in India. Now, third point is the principle of estoppel acknowledgement or part payment. Estoppel acknowledgement means admission of a debt. Okay, I have, when we give payment, pay money, they will give receipt. That is called acknowledgement. That when we submit any application, they will give some acknowledgement to duplicate copy. That is acknowledgement. Acknowledgement means acceptance, admission. So if you speak that admission, I explained in detail about the contract in law of evidence, admissions and confessions. If you want, you can discuss in detail. You can watch in detail. That's it. Part payment means part payment. Part payment means any payment which does not clear completely. First installment is part payment out of 60 installment. 59th installment also is part payment. Payment only 60th installment which discharges the debt completely is the full payment. Except the 60th payment, all 59 payments are part payments. Part payment. In such case, a stranger to contract can sue. And third one is estoppel. This is most important. The concept of estoppel we study in so many subjects. In law of agency, agent by estoppel is there. In partnership, agent by partner by estoppel is there. In law of evidence, estoppel is a big chapter is there. In so many subjects, estoppel is there. Dear student, as a law student, you must know estoppel, agent by estoppel or partner by estoppel. Partner by estoppel. For example, partner by estoppel. Suppose there is a partnership there are 5 partners. I am one of the partners, for example. So partnership means they receive money. Some customer comes to our partnership firm. He wanted to invest some 50 lakhs or 1 crore. But he is doubtful. If I invest this money, naturally, even our interest is less. We are willing to deposit in post office and government of India undertaking banks. We are doubtful to deposit in a private bank, even though they are giving more rate of interest. That is. So like that, one customer comes to my partnership firm and he wanted to invest some 50 lakhs or 1 crore. But he is doubtful. If I put this money, whether I get it back, that is the thing. Then when he approaches and thinking, he is in alienating mood to do or not to do. Why you are in alienating mood? Why are thinking to deposit or not to deposit? Our firm is a very big firm. You look at there, that gentleman, the richest man. Some customer came to some richest man in the town visited that firm. So you see this gentleman, he is a highly reputed richest man in our city. He is also our partner. He is also our partner, I said. Then I have taken the liberty. That gentleman who visited our firm kept quiet. Okay, Rao is my known friend, known person. He used my name. What is there? He kept quiet. So the customer got confident. Oh, such a big rich man is a partner. Also is a partner. There is no problem. In case anything wrong, I can ask him, and he deposited the 50 lakhs or 1 crore. After some time, the bank went in, the firm went into, they got dissolved. Sole trading partnership dissolved. Company, it is called liquidation. It dissolved. Then partners' liabilities, joint and several. All can be sued, one alone can sue. Then the customer who invested his 50 lakhs or 1 crore wants to get back. The company is dissolved, he won't get anything. He will little part of the money he may get later. Then he directly went to that partner by estoppel, rich man. Sir, basing on the statement that you are the partner of that firm, as you are the partner by estoppel, I deposited that money, that firm got dissolved. Now you have to pay, sir. No, I am not the partner. Eventually, casually, I went to that firm for some personal purpose. That Mr. Rao took the liberty of my freedom given to him. He said that I am their partner, but actually I am not their partner. But he took the liberty to say that he is my partner, he said. No, sir, I said, you should not speak like that. When once you have shut your mouth while telling that you are the partner of that firm by Mr. Rao, one of the partners, now you have to shut your mouth and pay. As you are silent, while making the statement, be silent and repay my money is what the customer can ask. This is what is called the partner by estoppel. This is what is called the partner by estoppel. Next one is contract through an agent. Last one is assignment of a contract. Yes, the fourth one is assignment of a contract. Assignment, I tell you, suppose assignment means a transfer of the contract. Suppose a contract is between A and B. After that, B shifted, changed his contract, left from the contract and put C in his place. That is, so in innovation chapter, performance of contract, I explained in detail. Suppose promissory note is they entered into between A and B. Promissory note is entered into A and B. The promissory note subsequently after before due date, the old promissory note is cancelled and new promissory note will return. Parties may be changed, and in a B's place some C is entered in new promissory note. That is what is called assignment. Then even then he becomes stranger to contract. He was not available at the time of creating contract, and when the party is changed, he becomes a changer to contract. And suppose when we apply deposit money in a bank, one manager is there. When we want to take the money, another manager will be there. Is a new version. Then if the money is not paid, we can question the existing manager. The existing manager cannot say you deposit at the time of old manager. So that is assignment. Last one is assignment. Last one is payment through by agent. There are so many big persons, they do not do their job independently. They engage an agent for all their activity. Some PA may be there, agent may be there. In a contract of agency, there are three parties. One is the principal, second one is agent, third one is other party. Agent acts between principal, his boss, and some other party. The real contract lies between principal and that third party. If the event of any problem, an agent being a third party can be sued. Sometimes there are secret principles also are there in there. So these aspects I explained in detail in contract of agency. In contracts too, I completed. Dear friend, thank you very much. Some students are asking second semester and everything. I have a lot of inspiration to give, many lectures, but it is for you to decide. Don't think that it is boasting. You cannot find a lectures like this, any big chapter in 1 hour, any big subject in 1 hour. By virtue of my experience in several fields, I would able to give. Otherwise, it is not possible, dear friend. Kindly respect our legal course and uplift the standard and bring value to our law course, lawman, on par with the so-called some professions, management, engineering, medical, like that. How people respect, acknowledge those professions, our lawmen also should be acknowledged. This is my ambition. Kindly, from here afterwards, immediately every lecture,